1989. Inside the big Ladomas mansion, brothers Daniel and Alex are playing and running around. A man is chasing them. Daniel quickly hides Alex in a closet. The man, named Charles, is the new husband of the boys' Aunt Helene. Charles asks Daniel for help because he is hurt and being hunted. But Daniel tells his family that Charles is there. Aunt Helene tries to save Charles, but the family takes him into a room where something terrible happens to him. 30 years later, Alex is getting married to a woman named Grace. She feels nervous, but excited to join his family's gaming dominion, which is how they got their huge fortune. The couple goes for a photo shoot before the ceremony with other members of Alex's family. Daniel is there with his wife Charity, who openly says she only married Daniel for his family's money. Their father Tony doesn't like Grace much, but not as much as Helene, who gives Grace a mean look. Alex and Daniel's mother Becky is more approving and tells Grace that only Alex's opinion matters. Soon, everyone gathers for the ceremony, and Grace and Alex get married. Later, Grace and Alex are trying to spend some special time together, but they are interrupted by Helene. She reminds Alex that he needs to join the family for something. Alex then explains to Grace that, according to their family tradition, every new member of the Ladomas family has to play a game at midnight. Grace and Alex meet up with the family again. Now they are joined by Alex and Daniel's sister Emily, who does a lot of drugs, her husband Fitch Bradley, and their sons Georgie and Gabe. Everyone gathers around a table while one of the maids, Clara, reads the boys a bedtime story. Tony explains to Grace that this tradition started with his great-grandfather Victor. Victor made a deal with a mysterious man named Mr. LaBelle. This man gave Victor and his family their wealth in a special box. In return, Victor had to keep his part of the deal. The family passes the box to Grace to draw a card from it and pick a game. Charity says she got chess, and Fitch got Old Maid. Grace draws hide and seek, and the room goes silent. Tony tells Grace that she has to stay hidden until dawn to win, which does not sound fun to her at all. As she goes to hide, the family grabs guns, except for Helene and Fitch, who take an axe and a crossbow. Grace hides in a dumbwaiter, and Alex decides not to join the hunt. As the family goes off to find Grace, Alex sneaks out of his room to warn her, but Charity sees him leave. Grace leaves the dumbwaiter and wanders around until Alex finds her. He covers her mouth and tells her to stay quiet. Meanwhile, Clara is walking around because Georgie has gotten out of bed. As she looks for him, a gunshot rings out, and Clara's face is blown off. Emily fired the shot, thinking it was Grace, but then realizes she made a mistake. Tony, Helene, Daniel, and Becky come in to help move Clara's body. Grace sits in horror at what she just saw. Alex pulls her into another room to explain the truth. For the Ladomas family, hide and seek means they believe they need to hunt and kill Grace before dawn, or they will die. Alex admits he didn't tell her this because he was afraid she would leave him, but he promises to find a way to get her out safely. Grace trades her high heels for tennis shoes and rips the bottom of her dress to move around more easily. She starts to walk out, but is immediately seen by Tony, Helene, and Daniel. They try to catch her, but Emily, who is high on drugs again, starts wildly shooting at Grace and misses. Grace runs away, and the others realize that she knows the truth now. Daniel finds her, but he doesn't care about the hunt, so he gives Grace a head start before telling everyone. The family gathers to come up with a new plan when another maid, Tina, comes in to tell Tony she saw Grace. Emily, who has Fitch's crossbow, accidentally shoots an arrow through Tina's head. Helene then chops Tina's head off because she won't stop groaning. Helene suggests to Tony that they turn on the cameras to find Grace, but Tony is against it since it's not part of the tradition. Grace finds a rifle and ammo and loads it up. She hides in the kitchen while Alex tries to turn on the cameras and unlock the doors and windows. The butler, Stevens, enters the kitchen to make tea. He hears Grace loading her rifle and soon spots her. She tries to shoot Stevens, but he tells her the ammo is just for display. This doesn't stop her from smashing the teapot over his face and escaping. Alex succeeds in unlocking the doors and windows, and Grace manages to get outside. Tony and Daniel find Alex in the control room, and Tony attacks him. Alex fights back, but Daniel talks him down, giving Tony a chance to knock Alex out. They handcuff Alex in his bedroom to keep him from helping Grace. Meanwhile, she is outside on the roof and overhears Tony and Helene talking. They know Alex has always rejected their tradition, being the good son, but Helene thinks Alex will eventually accept his place in the family like she did when Charles was killed. She tried to fight it at first, but then realized she should have killed him herself. She believes Alex will follow in his family's footsteps. Grace is almost out of the house when she is spotted by the third maid, Dora, who is hiding in the dumbwaiter. Dora tries to call out to the family because she found Grace, but she accidentally shuts the dumbwaiter door, causing herself to be crushed inside. Grace then runs away again. Grace makes it outside and runs to the stable. She sees Georgie walking there and thinks he will help her, but he pulls out a gun and shoots a hole through her hand. In response, she punches him in the face and knocks him out cold. Startled by a goat, Grace falls into the goat pit, where the corpses of goats and unlucky family members are dumped. She climbs up as the ladder starts breaking under her feet. She reaches the top but gets a nail through the hole in her hand. Despite the pain, she manages to pull herself out and uses part of her dress as a bandage. She runs back outside and breaks through the front gate. She tries to flag down a car, but the driver rudely drives away. Not long after, Stevens finds her and tries to capture her. Grace fights him and attempts to strangle him with a piece of her dress. She takes his car but doesn't notice that he is still alive. Becky orders Daniel and Emily to dispose of the maids in the goat pit because the others think the maids have been more trouble than help in the hunt. Daniel is fed up with the family, but Emily insists on following the tradition so her boys won't get hurt. Grace drives Stevens' car away and talks to a customer service agent named Justin for help. Unfortunately, since the car was already reported stolen, Justin shuts it down, allowing Stevens to find Grace and tranquilize her. He drives back toward the mansion while video chatting with the family to let them know he has Grace. Stevens starts to play classical music over the radio and doesn't notice Grace waking up, but the family does. They try to warn Stevens, but he doesn't see Grace as she kicks him twice in the head, causing the car to roll over into a field. Stevens is dead, but Grace survives. She gets out and is found by Daniel. He says he can't let his family down, so he knocks her out and takes her back to the mansion. Becky goes to Alex's room to try to talk to him. She thinks that even though he loves Grace, he will ultimately follow his family's wishes. Alex tells her that he will kill her if anything happens to Grace. The family places Grace on an altar to begin the ritual to sacrifice her to Mr. LaBelle. They pass around a chalice and drink from it, but then they start violently puking just before Tony can kill Grace. Daniel had given everyone something to make them sick, and he frees Grace from the altar. He tries to help her escape, but they are found by Charity. Knowing he is no longer on their side, she shoots Daniel in the throat. Grace fights Charity and takes the gun from her, but the bullets are gone, so she hits Charity with the gun. Grace tries to help Daniel, but he tells her to go. Alex breaks free from his cuffs and finds Daniel dying. He tries to save his brother, but it is too late. Tony then goes after Grace and tries to kill her himself, but she hits him over the head with a lantern, causing the curtains to catch fire. Grace is then found by Becky, who misses with her arrow, but then tries to strangle Grace. Grace pulls the tablecloth down, grabs Mr. LaBelle's box, and knocks Becky off her before bludgeoning her to death with the box. Alex comes across the scene and tries talking to Grace. He realizes she will never stay with him now, so he turns on her and gives her up to his family. Everyone continues with the ritual by holding Grace down themselves. Just as Alex is about to plunge the dagger into his wife, Grace breaks Helene's grip by clawing her hand, and the dagger goes into her shoulder instead. She gets off the table and holds the dagger toward the family while screaming. They then see that the sun has come up, meaning it is now too late. As they recoil in horror, expecting their impending death, nothing happens. However, Helene plans to kill Grace anyway. She grabs the axe and suddenly, boom! Helene explodes into a bloody mess. The family realizes they really are doomed. Fitch explodes next, followed by a begging Charity. Emily tries to get away with Georgie and Gabe, but they all burst too. Tony tries yelling about how he followed the rules, but he turns into paste as well. Alex then tries to weasel his way into getting Grace's forgiveness, but she hands him her ring and says she wants a divorce. Boom goes Alex. The fire from the curtains spreads around the house, and for a brief moment, Grace sees the spirit of Mr. LaBelle sitting in his chair, nodding approvingly to her. Grace exits the burning mansion, now covered in blood. She sits on the steps to smoke a cigarette as police and paramedics arrive. An officer asks Grace what happened, and she simply replies, "In-laws." Which movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more movie recaps. Thanks for watching.